Hello, ladies, and welcome to this very special recording with myself and my lovely colleague, Stef. Stef is here today to share with us what he sees on manifesting miracles and money. And this has been a conversation that we've all been engaging for a few weeks now. So I thought I would bring in Stef for a bit of fresh energy, fresh perspective. And also because Stef will be joining our upcoming retreat as a co-host with me later on in the year. So we'll talk a little bit about that towards the end. But for now, Stef, it's just lovely to have you here to have a conversation on manifesting.
I'm so grateful for the invitation. It's always really, really cool to get to be in this conversation with you, Grace. I'm honoured, and I'm really, really excited about getting the chance to share in the conversation with everybody else. You know?
Yeah.
It's an exploration, isn't it? Not a teaching.
It is an exploration. And so just for those of you that maybe haven't met Stef before, Stef and I met about 4 years ago when we were both apprenticing with Michael Neal, and we had really good conversations during that year, especially with regards how life works and, you know, what these core principles behind life really are. So our conversations go deep, which I know you'll all appreciate. But Stef has become not only a great colleague, but a great friend and someone I respect and admire. So with that in mind, Stef, I would love to hear a bit about what you see regarding the beautiful art of manifesting and how that can be easy for us.
There you go. The small questions first, huh? Yeah, it's an absolutely beautiful experience when we get to find out that when we collaborate with life, when we understand that we're part of this intelligence behind the universe, when we're part of this intelligence that creates us and then sustains us, you know, we breathe the air, and we're being breathed, and our hearts beat. We're not doing it. Our bodies are animated, but we're not doing it. We're all part of this huge system that knows how to live us. And what I've seen is that when we feel separate from that, we feel as though we have to control life. You know, we're the ones that need to make things happen, and we can only be happy and we can only be okay if we get what we want. Everything needs to be like ducks in a row. And I think that for me, it was the hugest relief to see that I am part of this amazing creative potential. So for me, what happened was when I fell out of my beliefs about how life should be and what I needed to be okay, I fell into a quieter space. And in the quieter space, I saw possibilities and potential that just weren't there before, when I was trying to figure everything out, when I was so focused on what I needed to be okay. So I went from a life of living in England and in this tiny part of England and thinking, this is all I can do, this is all I can be. This is how my life will be, and I need to control that in this tiny little box of possibility. To relaxing into life, letting go of the idea of who I was and what I was capable of. And almost immediately, my life changed in ways I could not have imagined. I began to travel so much more than I'd ever done, and I really loved traveling. I began to do work that I really, really love. I'd never been able to foresee me being able to do that. Meeting people like you that I would never have met otherwise. And all those things were beyond my little imagination when I was in my little box. And that's the key for me, is that we do not know what is possible beyond our little box most of the time. We have to open up to life and let life show us what's possible. And then we get to play with life in realizing it. Mm-hmm. That's how we create, that's how we manifest life, by collaborating with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love this. You know, we've had many conversations on life's invitation, and one of the things that the ladies has certainly been exploring through the mastermind group is just, you know, this idea of life inviting you to a miracle, life inviting you to the money that you require. And as I see that, Steph, that happens sometimes through our own wisdom, giving us an idea or an intuitive lead or a hunch to go in a certain direction, to call a certain person, to write a certain blog, or whatever the action step might be. But tell us a bit about what you see, you know, when you talk about, you know, this space of pure potential. How does one fall into that? How does one fall out of beliefs? What do you see about that you could share with the audience?
Well, for me, it's, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's simple. I would say that when we understand how we create this little prison for ourselves with thought, you know, with thought. So my, you know, thought tells me, I have thinking every now and again that comes from insecurity, comes from my ego that says, you're not good enough, you could never do that, that's not for you, that's for better people. Or thinking that says, you really need some money now, you know, you need to do something to stop feeling so insecure, you know. That's my ego talking to me. That's my insecurity talking to me. And as we know, this ego is something that's made up in the moment. It changes. It has it has different voices, but I think this conversation helps us to notice when we're in our ego, when we're in our insecurity, when we're in our lack, and when we're more open, when we're not living from that place of being scared, not living from that place of not feeling safe. And that happens to all of us. We go in and out of our ego all the time. But when we don't know what it is, we get fooled by it. It looks real. So for me, the journey has been about noticing when I'm getting lost in my insecurity, and I'm getting lost in my feeling of not being okay. And as soon as I notice that, then it begins to change. And as soon as it begins to change, what happens is I fall open. And life begins to whisper to me. I can hear the whispers, as opposed to before when I was lost in this place. Mm-hmm. I can hear the guidance system, and I can hear much more in the way of what is possible for me when Stef isn't getting in the way with, you can't do that, or that's impossible. You begin to see that there are a million possibilities, not just the handful that have been handed out to me in my pack of cards for life. Mm-hmm. And then when you become aware of like the infinite number of possibilities, you then get to say, oh, actually that would be cool, or that would be cool. Never thought of that. And you can then begin going in the direction of that possibility. It's magical. And the freedom and the feeling that comes with the knowledge that everything is already there waiting for us. Everything is already there. We just need to see it. And we see it from that place of feeling okay. Yeah. Being our true self, not the one that we make up.
Mm-hmm. I noticed you mentioned travel, and I want to bring this up because one of the things that I have seen more deeply is these infinite possibilities that seem to occur when people travel, and I'm one of them. And I got curious about it, because understanding that it's not coming from the environment, but rather from a free, clear mind. What I saw more deeply was just how, as we travel, we let go of the box. Somehow we just give ourselves permission to let go of the box for whatever length of time we're away. It's one of the beautiful things about being in a new place, being in a different place, is just what opens up. But I think that travel it's that great sort of experience of what you're talking about, experiential, mm-hmm. what you're talking about, Stef. Yeah. Because often when we're sort of in our routine and in our habitual recycled thoughts, yeah. we're not seeing anything fresh. Yeah. you know, we're not necessarily seeing anything new. Now, is the newness coming from the travel? Well, no, this is what we're pointing to, ladies and gents, you know, with the newness and the freshness and the infinite possibilities are just there with that free, clear mind. It just so happens that what I've noticed is travel seems to really, or new environments, even if it's 30 minutes down the road, seems to help people just drop out and drop back into center.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Because as you were talking, it was occurring to me that what happens when we're in a new place, as opposed to some place where we're used to being all the time, we enter the unknown, don't we? We're in a place where we're not necessarily comfortable. We are not necessarily going through the same patterns and habits. And from this place of the unknown, it's a space of creativity. It's a space of new thinking, and it's a space of being in the moment. Yeah. You know, when you're somewhere different, it's you are, to a certain extent, I don't want to say forced, but you're kind of open to life more, because you're relying on life more to give you ideas and show you the way, and you know, it's a place of freshness. It's a place of again, possibility, and as you say, in that space, then all sorts of things arise that wouldn't arise when we were in our old familiar surroundings. And it's not that you have to travel, as you say, but it's just being in that space of the unknown. And travel seems to do that. That seems to prompt it. Yeah. But we can be in the unknown where we are. We just need to see that's what the passport is. That's what the promise is. To be in the unknown and then be open till then what comes up, which is not old thinking, which is not old habits. So tell me, Grace, what for you is the difference between how you saw this before you came across these principles and how you see it now? I'd love to see what's changed for you.
You know, I think the big thing that's changed is it before understanding how life really works, before coming across this understanding, I was so unconscious as to where I was operating from. So whilst I could manifest whatever my ego came up with, and it did kind of come up with a lot, which kept me on the hamster wheel forever. Yeah. Whilst I could manifest it, it was effortful and pretty forced. You used the word forced, Stef. I think that's the real difference here. It was from a state of doing, rather than any sort of being. And what I noticed too was not to dismiss what I have been able to manifest and create in the past, but rather just notice that it never left me any long-term well-being. Yeah. That's the difference now. Like my mission is to experience and create for others too that feeling of well-being that is not dependent on circumstance and not dependent on X amount of money and not dependent on, you know, a self-image that looks a certain way. And so manifesting miracles today, just first of all, my mind just naturally notices more miracles, whereas in the past I wouldn't have noticed. I would have been looking at what was lacking. So that's already quite a shift. And then just manifesting from a place of what I call a place of grace. So is this coming from wisdom and life inviting me, or is this coming from a need to prove? And not, again, not to dismiss what I created in the past, but there was a lot of proving energy back then, you know, and that has just, again, you know, it's innocent. It's the psychological innocence of us humans, right? But nowadays, there's a consciousness too, where I'm creating from and why. And as you know, Steph, together we have experienced what true well-being and peace of mind really is. And when you touch that, I don't know about you, but for me, nothing else comes anywhere near that. If we could bottle this and sell it, it would put an end, in my opinion, it would put an end to women doing Botox and anything else. It's an elixir of youth and energy and well-being and, you know, a simple, easy experience of life. So yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. It really is. I think there's something in there about, you know, that place of ego that I'm talking about, is that it's possible to create from that place. But as you so rightly said, because it's coming from lack and because it's coming from scarcity and because it's coming from not okay, then whatever gets manifested in that, from that place, is never enough.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing about ego, isn't it? That its very nature is insecurity and scarcity and lack. So it's always looking for ways that we can improve ourselves, that we can get better, that we can get more. And it doesn't matter how much we accumulate. I'm thinking of, you know, the lottery winners who win millions and millions and then have deep psychological problems because they're afraid of losing it, or their relationships fail, or whatever. There's something about not understanding life, about coming from a place that isn't real, that is an illusion. It means it will never be true. Everything that we ask for ourselves coming from fear and scarcity is coming from a lack of understanding. And that's what you've just described so perfectly, is when we understand, when we notice what is actually true, how life is working, then it becomes a magical life. It unfolds. It presents us with opportunities and invitations to see things differently, but experience things differently, and see the world in a completely different way from a different place. And if we do that, then the world changes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what can be difficult for people to sort of let go on is the fact and the possibility that, you know, money and bills being paid and desires being met can all be a part of this, is all a part of it. Because as I have said over and over again in our manifesting mastermind, wisdom knows how to clear up the mess, the financial mess, the physical mess, the whatever mess, and brings us the solution and the direction. So it's not to say in any way, for those of you listening, that having money or creating miracles financially or in any other subject is impossible, but peace is what you'll get. It's rather that there's a relying on this intelligence within you that also knows how to get your needs met and your desires met, not just your needs, and your plans met, and whatever else is there.
And so much more.
So
much more that we could not have possibly imagined with our small prison mind.
Yeah. I loved how you described it as the box. So this might be a good time to talk a little just about what we're going to do together, Stef, helping just bring people out of their box.
Yeah.
So we'll talk just for a few minutes, just to invite you, you know, take it as life's invitation, ladies and all of you listening, that we will have a Manifesting Miracles retreat happening here in Italy, the first weekend of May, where Stef and I are going to go deeper. And some of you have joined us before on retreats, so you already know what's in store in terms of just how deep the conversation goes and how quiet your mind gets and how huge the wisdom and insights are that come forth. But maybe, Stef, it would be helpful if the audience understood, you know, why retreat? You've just come off of a retreat, so I'm going to ask you to speak on that first, because for many, you know, doing things online has been the kind of go-to, and so it might be helpful for people just to hear your experience of, you know, why retreat if you know, after perhaps doing things online instead.
Oh, that's a good question. That's a really good question. So we were talking about how when we're away from our normal environment, there's a natural opening happens, you know, because we're in a new place with new people, different things happening. And I see that. So this is I think this is amazing. What I've seen is that I can go on a retreat with a group of people, either as a student or hosting, and then immersion happens. So we have a little bit longer time to immerse ourselves in the conversation. And then there are large amounts of time where we get to relax and do fun stuff and, you know, walk and look at nature and stuff and socialize. And during that time, then what has been discussed in the conversation gets chance to settle. You know, it goes beyond our intellect and settles much deeper, and that's where insight comes from. So if we have, you know, 1, 2, 3 days of being in this place of relaxation with people who are of a like mind, who in this conversation, honestly, I see that you can go deeper and further in those 3 days than you could maybe in a lot longer of sort of online 1 hour, 1.5 hour sessions. I think that the fact that it's an immersion, and the fact that there is space to breathe and space for it to all settle before we go back to our daily life, is it's kind of a natural flowing thing, and I it's my favorite place to be, favorite thing to do, because I see more transformation in me and in other people in those environments than almost anywhere else.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. You know, this will be an opportunity for you all to bring your intellectual understanding of manifesting into an experiential realm, where you're really just taking things from the head to the heart and able to, rapidly deepen around this piece of manifestation and miracles and everything else that we explore. Steph and I will be exploring with you more deeply this invitation from life and this collaboration with life. So if you're someone who really has had a hard time letting go and trusting, this is a perfect experience for you in which to really step into a whole new way of being versus doing. So we won't go on too much about our retreat. We simply invite you that if you would like to join us the first weekend of May, and you would like to be coached personally with myself and Steph in this way, and you would also like to experience Italy and be in a new environment and understand and hear what we have planned for you here, then get in touch. So I would encourage you to email me directly or to private message me, and we will share with you the details of what's available. We have about 8 spaces, and you're hearing from us first before we open it up to the public. So what I would encourage you to do is, if you're sitting with a feeling of, yes, this is for me, I would like to be in Italy with Steph and with Grace and to take this conversation deeper, and just reach out. You know, we're available to speak with you and see if it's a definite fit, and we'll share with you more of the details. We do have a very special early bird offer. I will just share that now, so there's no kind of, oh goodness, how much does it cost? But we have a special early bird offer for payment before February 14th. And that is an offer of £750, which I believe is about $1,000. I will have to check exactly how many dollars. But that is the early bird offer. So just in case those of you are wondering what's happening price wise, that's where we're starting. That will increase from February 14th onwards. But do get in touch if you're feeling like this is something you'd like to explore. So, Stef, lovely to have you here today. Is there anything you'd like to finish with or to say to bring our conversation to a close here on manifesting miracles?
I'm just really, really pleased, just really happy to be invited to this conversation. And I just want to say that personally, this understanding has changed my life. I mean, changed it completely. It looks completely different, and it looks completely 180 degrees different to what I thought was possible. And I would love that for everybody that wants to join us on the retreat.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. Well, we will see you, Stef, with us on the 1st, the 2nd, and the 3rd of May for our retreat.
Can't wait.
Lovely. So, ladies, gents, everyone listening, thank you for being here today, and we'll be in touch soon.
Okay.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye, Stef.
Bye.